I felt like Ridley was underrated, so I took it upon myself to prove myself either right or wrong by spending a week playing basically only Ridley. I came up with a couple of things that I really thought I agreed with myself in terms of, oh man, this is like so much better than people give it credit for, but at the same time, this character still has flaws and they're not suddenly a top tier in my brain, so I wanted to go over what I felt like after playing Ridley for 1 week. This is kind of like a secondary thing to me learning Meta Knight for a week, which I did like 6 months, 12, it's been a long time since I did that, but Ridley was kind of like my second on the chopping block because I was like, I feel like, one, I want to be better with this character, so I want to put some time into him, because seeing my Ridley on Iron Man's was kind of pathetic, but I also just really felt like the character was underrated because I feel like a lot of the Ridley players go for the hard big hits like up Bs and forward smashes when you can just play this character solidly. And speaking of that, let's get into the advantages. But before I really get into it, I want to shout out the sponsor of today's video, 8th Era. Are you looking for a new mobile game to play? Because if so, 8th Era is the one for you. 8th Era is a new turn-based squad RPG that features a huge roster of unlockable heroes and challenging strategic combat. It's set 10,000 years in the future, and players must journey through dangerous past worlds to collect lost history and take down the evil AI Harmony that reigns supreme over the world. And 8th Era also has some real-world collectibles. You can compete to win exclusive limited edition coins delivered right to your door. And the coins feature characters directly from this game. Download the game now on iOS and Android, but only right now in Canada. For a worldwide launch, you should follow 8th Era on their social media handles or go to 8thera.nicegang.com to be the first to figure out when it is going to be launched worldwide, because they're working on it. It's coming out real soon. Again, thank you to 8th Era for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. Overall, I felt like Ridley's advantages were really strong. I feel like his neutral was pretty good against characters that didn't have like ridiculous neutral. He got a lot off of them. Like you would get like 0 to 35s or 0 to 40s pretty consistently with like grabs or nairs or something like that. And honestly, the craziest thing is his advantage was so strong. His edge guarding is really good in my opinion. Like not super elite, but definitely like the upper half or third of the cast. So I was getting so many edge guards on people, and the people that you can't actively go out and edge guard, you can just fireball ledge trap. His neutral B is so good in advantage. It literally got me so many stocks just of like, oh, you're down there, and then like I threatened the jump once with like jump, double jump forward air or jump, double jump back air, so then people start going low, and then you can just fireball them, and then they just die or get put into a situation where it is then easy to edge guard them. Plenty of characters like Roy, even like Sonic, Game & Watch, like I was hitting edge guards on a lot of different characters. It's really, really strong. His ledge trapping also, in my opinion, is very good because he has super long range normals like forward tilt, so you can kind of stand at roll distance, forward tilt the neutral get up or the get up attack, and then like up tilt the, the roll, and then juggle the jump, because his juggle game is pretty good. I mean, he has up air, nair, forward air, back air, and side B to like whiff punish if someone's landing on the ground. So in my opinion, that was like super strong. Obviously, this character kills really early when he gets the correct hits. Like his smash attacks, obviously, like the big reads, obviously, but even things just like back air, forward tilt, dash attack, side B, like those are perfectly fine to use, and they're not like a super big commitment. Well, side B is a big commitment, but we'll get to that later. But you can kill really, really early, and I was a huge fan of just the ability to get really early kills, not consistently, but pretty often. Having a kill confirm, such as up tilt up air, in my opinion, is super underrated. I think Ridley's up tilt was like surprisingly good. I thought it was going to be bad, but I really liked using that move, and up air is so strong, so getting those kills at like 80 to 90% depending on the weight of the character, like before hit, was honestly really surprising, and it was obviously like a lower commitment option than going for something like up smash. Speaking of up smash, covering like the entire platforms and tech chases when you get a nair or like a forward air or something like that at higher percents is simply ridiculous, because you can either go jump side B or just up smash and then cover literally entire platforms, because Ridley's up smash is so big. It's gotten me so many stocks. I entered a couple of Wi-Fi tournaments with him, and honestly, it overall felt very, very good. However, I do want to talk about some of the disadvantages first, and then talk about, I guess, my general tier placement for him, because there were some rough matchups, and I know that, I knew that ahead of time because I've thought about Ridley before in terms of like a counterpick character, but I played against a Samus, and that was a struggle. The anti-airs and the, dealing with charge shot wasn't easy, and then getting at a disadvantage wasn't great. Like, I mean, I think Ridley's disadvantage was okay. I think having multiple jumps is great, having a good directional air dodge, up B to stall, side B to stall, like there were plenty of good options, or just like going to ledge. It really didn't, I feel like I didn't get disadvantaged super hard, except for the characters that had insane advantage states, like Samus and Game & Watch, and then characters that could edge guard me really well, like Sonic. But but even then, like, that was only specific things like getting down throw near the ledge, and that's when you're gonna get edge guarded, more so than just like you got hit high, you're gonna get edge guarded, because Ridley has a ton of ways to fight back. But I definitely think certain matchups felt really bad. It was honestly mostly those two. I think Sonic, you know, if I fought someone like Sonic's or Wrath would definitely be a big problem, but I know that Caden, Oklahoma's #1 Ridley, you know, one of the best Ridleys in the country, took Wrath to like game 3 last hit at DreamHack, so, you know, it was best of 3, so I definitely think that matchup is doable. I think that a lot of the matchups were doable, honestly, and not just because you had the ability to get early kills, but just Ridley's neutral in general was so solid, and having multiple jumps and a giant sweeping hitbox around him makes it really, really easy when the opponent doesn't have crazy disjoints. Honestly, one of my harder matchups legitimately was like the Belmonts, so it was like, oh, Game & Watch, and I think Steve was fine. Like, it wasn't definitely like winning, but it was like playable. And then so it was like Game & Watch, Samus. I know Mii Brawler's really bad from like playing Mii Brawler against other Ridley players, mostly Caden, to be honest. And then just like Belmonts was super hard for me. I don't know if, you know, other zoners would also be difficult for Ridley, but I feel like the matchup spread was overall, like, it was simultaneously better and worse than I thought, because I thought the bad matchups wouldn't be as bad, but at the same time, a lot of matchups I thought would be really bad weren't, like Roy, and again, like Steve. I was like, oh, in theory, this is like so bad, but like you can just kind of play around a bunch of the movement, because Ridley's like ground speed is really high, and you have super big pokes that you have to like, you can bait people out really early to do things, and then just like jump backwards and forward air them or something like that. I do, however, wish that Ridley's combo game was slightly better. He's mostly like a 2 or 3 hit kind of character, and unfortunately you don't really get more than that due to like Nair not having enough hits done, or weak Nair just barely not having enough hits done. If you could do something like up tilt, reverse Nair, back air, that would be so sick, but you can't. It's like barely not true, which is very unfortunate. But he still has like a good advantage state, so you get enough damage anyway, but I do wish you had like slightly more guaranteed stuff, because I feel like that would just be really fun. Like, even if it's not going to be like a kill confirm, just like slightly more damage overall would be nice, and then you can get things like your 2 frames with forward tilt, which, by the way, I got so many 2 frames with forward tilt. I didn't even go for forward smash 2 frames, I just went for forward tilt because I wanted to be safer if I whiffed. But yeah, I feel like overall this character was surprisingly good. Probably my biggest gripe with Ridley was legitimately the fact that sometimes it felt like his sweet spots were overridden by his sour spots, where it was a little difficult to get the sweet spots when you were trying to just get the right hit. That was kind of frustrating. I know I would get like sour spot up airs or sour spot forward tilts a lot, and it would cause me stocks, and sometimes I wasn't able to kill people till 180, which is why earlier I said, like, it's not easy to kill with Ridley, but like he has strong kill moves. So that was probably my biggest actual gripe with the character. A big negative for me personally is just like the lack of easy add a shield options. I'm not great at footstool add a shield because my characters don't use it, and I know you have footstool downer as Ridley, but that's like a mediocre punish anyway. But I wish he had just like a slightly faster add a shield option or something like that. Honestly, the recovery didn't even bother me, except in the couple of games I was getting super hard edge guarded by like Sonic or something like that. So I feel like his recovery was fine. I felt like his, you know, damage output was overall fine. His disadvantage was just bad against the characters that had really strong advantage states, which that's kind of how most characters feel like in this game, unless you have something very special like a quick attack or a flip jump or something like that. Like, most characters just kind of get blown up in disadvantage. So I'm not really going to blame Ridley for that, although being like such a large character probably doesn't help. So what does that mean for Ridley overall in my tier list placement? Well, honestly, I do think it made him go just a little bit up. Honestly, looking back at my tier list currently, I put him higher than I think most people would, because I put him in a tier with like Chrom and Mewtwo and Meta Knight and Bowser. So I think that's generally about right. Maybe he'll go a couple of spaces higher, because like this is currently my tier list. So like a lot of good characters in that tier, like Puff and Lucas and like Gunnar and Luigi. So I think I'm probably honestly going to keep him somewhere in a similar tier, maybe a couple of characters above, probably better than Inkling. I think Ridley's definitely better than Inkling, but I don't know if like better than Meta Knight or Bowser, which were the other characters close to him. So I think for me personally, not going to change much on my tier list, but I think overall this is a lot higher than most people have him on a tier list. So I still stand by my statement that I think Ridley is still underrated overall. And yeah, let me know if you agree or disagree, as always, in the comments down below. And of course, while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and also check out Stride and all that. Again, thank you to 8th Era for sponsoring this video, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.